Should have wore white.
Shows up on the camera.
Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar De Jesus. And his co-host, John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Welcome, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. I'm your host, J.J. Flawless, and no, I am not the reigning champion of Marco Polo. That's our boy Edgar, who's playing hooky and went MIA on us today. I'm the fastest netter in the West, and I'm with the famous Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas. Today we're going to talk to Tim Moore and Jim D'Angelo from U.S. Motors. We're diving into a topic that's about to impact every single pool professional out there, the new DOE regulation for pool pumps, what it means, what it's changing, and how you can turn this regulation into opportunity for your business. I want to welcome everybody to our live podcast, a podcast where it's all about pool talk. We ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. But before we get started, I want to thank our visionary partners for this podcast, the SPPA, Blu-ray XL, Aquastar Pool Products, Natural Chemistry, Raypack, Heritage Pool Supply, Hayward Pool Products, Poolside Tech, Pool Brain, and our friends at Nidec. We want to thank them for their continued support. Zacharias, good morning. How'd I do, first of all?
Dude.
Did I do all right?
You got it. I think, Edgar just has that little bit more of that energy.
Oh,
and
for
up
sure.
and down.
I can't.
No, you nailed it. I was over here smiling ear to ear. I was really proud of you. You did better than he does. You didn't screw it all up. So.
No, I got through it. I've only listened to it for about 432 times, right? But it's a little bit different on this side of the table here, doing the intro.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if Edgar is listening right now.
Oh, I know. He's listening.
Yeah.
I think he's catching a flight back now from Arizona.
With any luck, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah. So, no, good job. Doing good today. I'm happy to be here. Just seems like yesterday we were all in Vegas together, kind of at the show doing our thing. And here we are back at it and talking pools again. So excited to get into today's topic.
Tim, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Fantastic. Happy to be back.
Yes.
Excited to get this party started and get some good information back out there.
Awesome. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, John. Happy to be here. Excited. Pools are fun. This is a fun market, and this is a great time to be here and discuss all this with you guys. So thank you for having us back.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more. So we did our original podcast a few months ago about the upcoming regulation that was going to take effect in September, right? Is when it was going to take effect. And we kind of set the stage and went through some of the things to expect for all the pool pros out there to get prepared for it. But, reality is as service professionals, especially if you're out there hustling every single day, scrubbing tubs and trying to make a business happen on your own or even with a couple people helping you, it's hard to focus on what's happening down the road. And sometimes we get caught up in the now. And we had such a great outcome from last podcast. And we thought that bringing you guys back and kind of discussing what we need to do now as professionals or as an industry, now that the rule is in effect and it is affecting us and it's not something that's in the future, but something that we have to deal with now. And how to turn that into a positive so that we can be prepared and we can offer the correct solutions for our clients and for the people that we take care of every single day. So we're extremely excited to have you guys back. You guys were a wealth of information last time.
Appreciate that.
I think it opens up a huge opportunity that some professionals out there don't necessarily take into consideration when it comes down to upgrading their equipment. We're usually wired to something's wrong, we got to upgrade and put a whole new pump in. And sometimes that closes off the opportunity for some people that simply just don't have the means to be able to do it immediately or pay that much money at that time, where Now we have a great option that doesn't compromise in quality or performance, and they're able to become compliant and be able to save money by taking advantage of the new Neptune motor. So we're excited to talk about it. So, Tim, can you explain? I mean, let's get this party started. If you can explain a little bit about the difference between the old DOE rule from 2021 and the new one that's already in effect.
Sure. In July 19th, 2021, all pump manufacturers, meaning assembling a motor with the wet end in a box, whole goods, could no longer put a single speed motor onto that pump if it was between the horsepowers of 1.15 total horsepower to 5 horsepower. And most recently, they've added to that law. So this is an amendment or an addendum to that law. It's the same law, but they've included replacement motors. It wasn't included in 2021. It is now included. We are actually at the end of that road. September 29th, 2025, all motor manufacturers had to cease manufacturing of 1.15 to 5 total horsepower. There still is inventory. It's still okay to buy and sell a single speed motor, but that inventory is obviously going to get depleted as we move forward since no motor manufacturer can make them anymore.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think. I know a lot of people probably aren't even aware that this is going on, but for us personally, I made the mistake of back in the when it was the pumps, thinking that was the motors. So the whole time that's been going on, we have been moving away from single speed. And I just found out recently, like 6 months ago, like, no, they're still here, but now it's finally here where that motors are no longer going to be available. So it's crazy. But so it was 1.1 to 5 horsepower.
1.15 to 5 horsepower.
Okay. And so anything under and over that, they're still going to be single speed.
Exactly. And there is one other hurdle, if I may, right now to interject this and announce it, that on the end of September of 2027, there is a second stage addendum amendment to that original pump law that is now going to include half horsepower or 0.5 up to that 1.15 total horsepower. So after September of 2027, everything will have to be between 0.5 and 5 horsepower will have to be a variable speed motor.
Yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit about that at dinner, and I guess it's kind of up in the air. We're not quite sure if it's really going to happen or if they're really going to pull through with it. Because I mean, when you're talking about a half a horsepower motor, right?
It is somewhat of a dog pile. I don't know if there's much energy savings, but
yeah. But I mean, it is what it is, and it's something that we need to be prepared for. So, can you walk us through the main efficiency terms when it comes down to pumps? There's these new words that have been thrown out, especially with the new regulation and variable speeds now becoming the norm across the country. Things like WEF and what pool pros need to look for on labels or spec sheets when they're plumbing out or putting in new motors or pumps.
Interestingly enough, those terms really apply to the pump.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to motors, we don't label ours that way. We've got an efficiency, but what I can tell you is that when these replacement motors are designed, and these designs go back many years, if not decades, maybe not variable speeds, obviously, but single speeds, we design them with the OEM models in mind so that we're basically a direct drop-in replacement. So if those efficiencies and those ratings you see on the pump today are what they are, we are meeting them as well when you replace the motor.
Perfect.
Okay. Got it. And so I want to shift gears here a little bit. And like I was saying earlier, I don't think a lot of people are aware of this, but now they're going to be real aware of it because this is going to be, there's no choice. And so I want to talk about when we're getting into the backyard and service techs who are used to replacing motors, and that's what they've done. I kind of want to talk about what that means for them, what it looks like for them. And is this going to make things more complicated? Is it going to make things easier for them, better for them? What is your kind of take on that?
Different. I've been representing electric motors in the pool industry for 30 years, and for up until a year and a half ago, you hook them up to high voltage and they run or they don't run, and there wasn't much else to worry about now. And now they all have computers on them. So to say that you just hook it up to high voltage and you walk away like you did with a single speed motor would be lying. It is going to take a little bit extra effort on the installation, but I'm pretty confident that, after you hook it up with the high voltage, that you're only a few minutes away from finishing the rest of the installation. So the entire job is probably still an hour in and out for like it would be for a single speed replacement motor.
Let's face it, variable speed pumps have been out for a long time. So, pool service professionals are already used to programming and installing variable speed pumps, motors. So basically you're replacing a motor just like you would have done with the single speed. It all mounts the same way yet. You're still programming on the top. So I don't think it's more complicated. I think it's just another option, another tool in the tool belt at this point. So.
Yeah, I look at it like it's not so much as far as the physical portion of it, but it's just understanding how to properly use the variable speed pump when you're installing it. And it's not like a single speed where on, off, right? Running one speed, it is what it is. You're going to set it at 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, or whatever you need to do for your turnover, but understanding the difference now with the variable speed and using it to its capabilities and how to program it. And I think, and we'll talk maybe a little bit about that later on, a new feature that the Neptune motor has that no other motor has when it comes down to being able to program it, and I think will help out the professionals out there so they know exactly how to utilize that variable speed pump so that they can get the biggest bang for the buck when they're installing it. How if you were to talk to a service professional out there, how does this new regulation change the conversations that pros need to have with the homeowners? And how would you explain this without overwhelming the customer with some technical terms and jargon?
Well, how this affects them is, well, first of all, I don't think it's a dramatic effect on them. I think it gives them more options to sell, more opportunities to sell different things. Obviously, back in back in the day, it was just put another single speed motor on and you get in and you get out and you go, or you put a brand new pump on, right? But now you assess that situation. Is that pump serviceable yet? Can you still get the parts for it? And if you can, then keep the pump. If you can't, then sell them a brand new pump, right? I mean, you still have single speeds. They're still out there. They're going to be around for, maybe another 6 months to maybe 9 months, depending on the season. We talked yesterday, if there's another hurricane, I guess
there's a hurricane. It changes might be 6 weeks,
Yeah. But no, this is a great opportunity for pool professionals. Whereas maybe 6 or 8 or 9 months ago, there's a cross section of people out there that didn't even want to think about it. But here's the change. They've got to think about it now because there won't be single speeds in another 6 to 9 months. And you've got to consider all your options. And to your point earlier, or maybe it was your point, not everybody can afford a brand new pump. And this motor is an affordable option to those who can't do that.
Yeah, and look, and I think, again, this is as the industry as a whole, I mean, or it can just be our industry, but I think all industries, people are naturally resistant to change or things that they're not necessarily accustomed to or they haven't been doing for so long, and they resist it and they hear no evil, see no evil, and I'll put it away until I have to deal with it. But when I hear questions about, oh, this is going to be terrible or this is going to be a problem, I look at it like, I mean, this is such a great opportunity, right? And it's not, it really isn't. And when it comes down to affordability, and I get it, some customers might not be able to spend $3,500, $3,000, or whatever it may be on a new pump installed, but to be able to have an affordable option and still be able to get the same impact, especially now with your guys' motors, alleviates that issue. And not only that, but it's our job as professionals to educate them so that we can explain that we are actually saving you money by doing this, right? This is a very good thing. And it's a good thing for you. It's a good thing for us. It's an amazing thing for your pool when it comes down to clarity and and making sure that that your system and your water is clean and fresh and safe for you to swim in, because we know the longer the pool's being filtered, I mean, you can chemically treat a pool all you want, but if it's not being filtered correctly or circulated enough, you're going to have hot spots, or you're going to have spots where chlorine isn't there, and you're going to get algae, and you can have and you can risk disease for the people that are swimming in it. So to be able to have that water run, for an extended period of time and be able to save money while doing it is a win-win for everybody. And if you understand the pricing and what it costs to actually run a pump, like for instance, my area, our electricity isn't as bad as some areas, but we're like 18 cents, 19 cents a kilowatt, which is pretty cheap for California. There's like Southern California Edison, I think you're up to like 40 some cents a kilowatt. And, it's ridiculous when it comes down to, what you're charging. It's over twice as much. And if you really break down the metrics, and we'll put links in the podcast to where you guys can kind of go get that information. And we're going to talk a little bit about where you can go, and if Nidec and US Motors has anything to where people can look at, so you can kind of get those figures and understand how to properly approach upgrading that motor in the backyard.
And another thing, just to
Sure.
interject here real quick, it's not just, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was seen as you're just upselling me.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just trying to make me buy something that maybe I don't really need yet. Now you're selling them something that they need, because it's going to save them money. It's efficient, it's quiet, and to your point, it can help with your pool chemistry as well if you're
sure.
running them operating properly. So it's not an upselling case anymore. Now this becomes just another, like I say, another piece of equipment, another tool that you can sell.
And I mean, I think like you were talking about, John, like how do you explain this without overwhelming them with technical terms? I mean, there are benefits that we see as the professionals, and those are typically the ones that we don't necessarily need to spend the most time like relaying to the customer. And I think it's just breaking it down, like savings, quiet operation, efficient. I mean, I would go to as far as to say is like even the longer run times, better filtration, more circulation, things like that. That's still a benefit to them that they should be aware of, but I don't think that's one that necessarily moves the needle. But I think it's just focusing on those, because I know for me, I've had many moments in the backyard where I find myself kind of going the nerdy stuff and down that path, and I can just watch the homeowner glaze over, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to lose this sale if I keep going down this path. So just focusing on like some of those things that really hit them. And I would agree. I looked at it for a long time as like, I can sell them a single speed, or I can move them to a variable speed. They may not understand that, the little bit more is going to benefit them so much better. And I almost felt like I was doing them like an injustice. So like you said, Jim, giving them the option and kind of letting them pick on that is helpful as well.
Because up till now, you've pretty much offered a single speed replacement motor or a whole new variable speed pump. And there really is a third option, and that's the variable speed replacement motor. And very quickly, the first option of single speed is no longer going to be available.
Right.
So knowing how to work that into your sales pitch as hey, you could still go single speed. It has a 1-year warranty. There is a possibility that you're rolling the dice with this decision. Whereas if it were to go bad under warranty, I'll only be able to get you the credit of the single speed towards the purchase of a more expensive motor. Or you could go with a variable speed replacement motor that has a 2-year from date of installation warranty. I can help you start saving some money right now, and we don't have to worry about that eventual. Or we could put on a whole new pump. And I think what they're going to find is the variable speed replacement motor option is about half the cost of the whole good pump. And from an installation standpoint, if you're in and out on a replacement motor in an hour, where a whole pump with new fittings and in and outs and configurations can take over an hour, maybe a much more profitable job for you to be in and out and put in a variable speed replacement motor for the customer.
That's why I kind of want to dive into that. We've touched on this a little bit, but like speaking in terms of opportunity, because I think a lot of people that are kind of stuck in their ways or a little bit old school mentality, they look at this and they see it as like a hurdle. And I think this is a great opportunity. How can they kind of use this moment in time where this regulation is out now as an opportunity to grow their business instead of looking at it as a hurdle?
Absolutely. John used the analogy earlier that we were coming to the end of the road on single speeds. And a lot of people are thinking that it's a dirt road after you hit the end of the pavement. And it's really not. There's more pavement upon that in front of you. And for the last 2 years, I've made the analogy that a lot of times I feel like a bartender when I'm talking to service guys, because they give me the woes of where they think all of the problems are going to exist. And while I can't hand them a beer with a shot back or anything like that, I can give them some solutions to those problems that they think are going to be hurdles, because there are going to be different applications for every motor that you need to put out there. There will be some on commercial, there will be some on residentials, there'll be some used with controllers, some with time clocks, some as standalones. But I think the Neptune motor is going to hit a lot of those points in versatility and help a lot of your servicemen get over that dirt road and back onto the pavement.
Yeah. And another conversation we were having too, I believe at dinner, and we touched on it a little bit, I believe on the last podcast. Saying having being able to have that pump and being able being able to have that motor and being able to upgrade without having to replumb, right? But not having to also worry about carrying like 15 different SKUs on you either, right? So you can have one pump or one motor is. I always have that problem, right? One day I'm gonna get over that and say motor instead of pump. But you can have that one motor that's almost a one size fits all, because as we all know, even if you have a 3 horsepower motor or a 2 horsepower motor, 2.5, and you're putting it in a system where there was an existing 1.5 horsepower pump, you're able to use that impeller with a higher horsepower motor and still achieve that without overdoing it, correct?
You can put a larger horsepower on a smaller impeller all day long. It'll never push more than that impeller could at full 3450. So you're safe to do that. And yes, a lot of times the variable speed motors are obviously going to be a little bit more expensive than the single speeds. There's no doubt about it. From your supply house, you'll probably pay between $550 to $750 starting with our 165, 225, 270, and 345 total horsepowers, both in square flange and in threaded shaft. Now, if you put a 345 or whatever the largest horsepower that you would possibly run into in your marketplace on your truck in the style square flange or threaded shaft that you knew was dominant in your marketplace, then you could go out potentially to any job and have the right motor the first time. And I say that there's about $50 increment between those horsepowers. And so if it's going to cost you more than $100 to go back to the supply house to get a 225 rather than the 345 and return back to the job, and the 345's already on your truck and it only cost you $100, you had the right motor the first time out. And you can put that 345 in place of that 225, underwork the motor, and never exceed the performance of the impeller itself.
Well, damn, I wanted to tell that story too.
Sorry.
And it's not only that, but just you might be spending a little bit more money on the equipment, but think of the message you're sending to the client or the people you're taking care of and saying, oh, here's a problem. Don't worry. I got what I need on the truck right now and I can take care of it. I don't have to reschedule something to come out here and do it. Right. And so that goes a long way. And I can tell you the one thing I absolutely dread the most, or a pet peeve, is when I'm doing a job or I'm doing an install or I'm at a house and I don't have what I need in order to take care of it. And I always I always tell everybody when I'm on the phone, people talking, because, we constantly talk on daily with different pool pros across the country. And it's like, if you ran out of something, when you go buy it, buy 3 of it, right? Don't buy 1 of it, buy 3 of it. So you have enough of it. So next time you don't have to go through that, because time is money.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's really, really important.
That's what we always tell people in the commercial business, especially, right? Especially if you're going to be buying a 5, 7.5, 10, 15 horsepower motor. They're not always sitting on a shelf anywhere.
Right.
Get a second one.
Buy 2.
Yeah, just in case.
Especially if you have multiple pumps with the same motor, buy 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right? Because when your commercial pool's down, you're down.
So we talked a little bit about, overcoming some of the not necessarily like myths, but roadblocks that some have when they put in the variable speed pump. And I chimed in a little bit about understanding how to correctly program it so that you can maximize it for its full potential. Can you, for the techs that are listening, can you talk about how they can set up the Neptune motor to run efficiently while keeping proper circulation and filtration going on in the pool, and what features it has above some of the others in the industry or other motors?
I want to share this with you because I know you love to talk about the really neat features. So I'll give you the simple stuff first. From a programming standpoint, it's rather simple in ours. We bring the motor to you with 3 programs already in it, which are DOE style programs. All you really got to do is set the clock and get it going. You know, mount it and get it going. If you don't like those programs, there are 7 of them, and you can set them to whatever you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 7. You tell it what time to come on, how long to run for, and what speed to run at. And that's the really basic way to go about this. But there is a really neat feature that I'm going to allow Tim to tell you about that.
Sure. It's called the DOE feature. And if you enable, it does not come enabled on the motor, but in our first menu tree, the My Pool settings, about 5 steps down, hitting the arrow down, you're going to come to a DOE enabled mode. And if you enable that, the timer settings that Jimmy was just talking about, you're no longer going to see them. It's going to start asking you some questions that you've never seen before, like how many gallons are in the pool? If you don't know that, it has a calculator that you can put in the width, the length, the average depth, and the constant for the type of pool, and it'll calculate that for you. You then can put in what the gallon per minute or the horsepower of that pump is that you have on the job. And so it's gathering some information about it as to the flow, the circulation. You then can tell it, I don't want this motor running during certain hours. If your bedroom is near the equipment and they don't want it running at night or at a high speed at night, you can tell it those hours. If you have a Southern Cal Edison that's charging 40 cents an hour and it's going to be 56 cents an hour between the hours of 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock or wherever the peak hours might be, you can tell it what are those peak hours. And it'll take that information and come up with a 4 schedule, 24-hour a day to optimize the energy savings, yet not compromise any of the flow in the circulation. And even though it comes up with those 4 settings, you can still go in and change them if they're not quite tweaked the way you want them. And that's DOE mode, which is optimizing the energy savings without compromising any of the flow or filtration.
And that was a big deal to me. I mean, I think a lot of the barrier to entry are where people that maybe haven't messed with variable speed yet, they're intimidated by it, right? I got to program this thing. We're talking flow, we're talking GPM. People may not fully understand that. I think this just lowers that barrier to entry for them so that now they have a way to like, okay, I can answer these questions and find these answers, and I'm going to get a program that's going to benefit the homeowner, that's not going to sacrifice circulation, and it's going to really maximize on that. To me, that's huge. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only that, but if you actually put it into practice, and then, it's one thing to say, hey, this pump is going to pay for itself, and then after it pays for itself, it's going to pay you. It's literally going to pay you every single month having this motor in here, because the energy savings, once we get past that threshold of what it costs for us to install it, every dollar that you save is a dollar made, right? Mm-hmm. And it's literally paying you for it. And by utilizing this tool or having this, you're able to maximize on that and to be able to deliver on that promise. Right. And when your client or your customer in a month or two starts to see their electricity bill and they realize those savings and they say, hey, Zach, hey, Tim, or hey, Johnny or Sue or whoever you are, wow, they weren't BSing me. They were telling me the truth. And look, we saved $50 this month, or we saved $75 this month, or whatever it may be. And then that becomes tangible, right? And then, and then how do you attach a value to that when it comes down to the reputation or the trust now that you've built with your client? So the next time when you have something, or when you need to upgrade, or when you need to do something, they're gonna believe you, right? And they're not going to be quite as hesitant, especially You know, if they never experienced actually, because you know people always get their guard up and think that you're just trying to sell me, you're just trying to upsell me on it.
Well, and I would, going back to our previous point about replacement motors being an option, they're going to be half the cost of a whole good, which means they're going to give, and it's the motor that does the energy savings. It's not the plastic part of the pump. So your return on investment for that consumer is going to be twice as quick.
Yeah,
That's
as opposed
huge.
to. So, I mean, if you just
it's
giving
like
them that option has
it's funny.
gained that trust level.
I was thinking solar, right? You know, the whole solar craze that was coming around. Go, yeah, go solar. You're going to save me. Yeah, but I got to spend $50,000 to put these solar panels. I'm not going to realize the savings until like 30 years from now, right? Where this makes it a little bit more realistic, you know. And even if it's a $3,000 a pump that you're putting in, it takes time to be able to recoup those losses, right? Or I mean to recoup the savings to be able to pay for it. But like to your point, Tim, when you're putting in something that's half that cost, right? You're gonna get ROI in half the time.
Absolutely.
So it's critical. And I wanted to touch on one more thing because I'm really impressed about this DOE mode that you guys have on this Neptune motor. And it's something that you didn't have to do, but you guys did do. And it's a little frustrating to me as well when I think about it as a whole, because you know these are the types of things that you know our automation and stuff should automatically be doing, right? And we literally have a motor here that is smarter and more energy efficient and wants to be more and can do these types of things, where an automation you know, that is supposed to be the controller or the brain of it all should already have these functions built into it, but they don't, you know? So it's quite impressive. And I think it's really neat, and I can't wait to try it.
I've loved the way you framed that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. So
It's actually it's an energy savings calculator built into the motor itself.
for sure.
I mean, the things you'd see on a pump manufacturer's website, or even on our website for that matter too.
Right.
But now you've got it right in there, and it's a lot of information that a lot of these folks know. And if not, we give you the ways to get around not knowing it. You know, the other thing I wanted to mention is we've got this LCD screen that is on our motor. It actually shows you the watts that the motor's running at. And while that may not be that important to a service person, a homeowner can look at that and actually get some, again, to your point, a tangible piece of information that makes them feel like, yeah, I am saving something, you know?
Yeah, I always liked watching the watts, and then like back in the day, it was like, how many light bulbs are you running, or the comparison that they would do on that. And that was always really interesting to me. And I want to go back, and John had mentioned myths, and I think there is some maybe misinformation or some mental roadblocks that pool pros put up for themselves that kind of push them away from selling variable speed. What are some of the common myths that you guys encounter out there dealing, as you're out there meeting different professionals and trying to introduce them to the technology and get them to understand it and love it? What are some of the myths that you're hearing from pool pros out there?
There's no way I can run a variable speed motor only 8 hours a day at a lower RPM and achieve the same flow and circulation. And I say that's absolutely true. But if you double it, if you come down from 3450 to 1725 and extend that to 16 hours, you haven't jeopardized the flow at all. And you've probably taken the operational cost from ballpark of $100 a month, just for an even number, down to about $27 a month.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because when we're talking about power, the affinity law, right? You think just because 3450, I'm cutting it to 1725, it's half the power. No, it doesn't work like that. It starts to the power usage declines drastically as you start going lower and lower.
Exponentially.
Exponentially.
I think it's a cube, I think is what it is, yeah. I think the other one we've covered before is you can't put a bigger motor on it, you know? I mean, you're going to blow out your filter or whatever you're going to do. 345 can run anything down to a half horse if that's what it had to do. And of course, people talk about, you know, oh my God, now I've got to program it. Well, I mean, first of all, I already told you guys before, set the clock. That's all you got to do. Set the clock, turn it on, let it go.
It has built-in default. So if you really just want to do it like that, you can do it and walk away. There are applications and features on our motor on the board. We have a low voltage block that you can actually repurpose the motor into a single speed motor again. And I get it. It's not the idea of the variable speed law, but I also get it. It's not what every serviceman wants for his customer or for his pools in all parts of the country. So we can make it as detailed of an installation and with automation and everything, or DOE scheduling, or we can make it as simplistic as possible. The versatility of those applications are what I enjoy selling about the Neptune motor.
And that lends you a bit to a commercial application, like we met with somebody yesterday.
Absolutely.
And you don't think of it right away, but there are 2 and 3 horsepower pumps out there on HOAs and things like that. And yeah, you need your necessary number of turns, and you're probably not going to do some elaborate programming, but as simple as just running it at a speed, whatever that speed is, and we can do that.
It's an 1.5 inch low voltage jumper cord. It's not that difficult to do it, and it's not voiding the warranty. It's utilizing the capabilities that our engineers put into the motor.
On that low voltage board.
Exactly.
Right.
Awesome. Let's do this. I can't believe we've already been on for almost 40 minutes. So let's take a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to talk about something that Nidec and U.S. Motors is actively pursuing that I'm pretty excited about. And I think it's going to be something that every pool pro out there who's installing these motors will be equally as excited about if it happens. So let's take a word from our sponsors.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add reoccurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize Nidec, their exclusive industry-first technology. Nidec heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, Nidec creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/Nitec. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to our live podcast. We're in studio with Tim and Jim, and I wanted to take a moment and say shame on me for not introducing our audience here as well. We have Jamie and we have Lisa sitting on the couch. They do have their boo microphone, but they choose not to use it. But they are making funny faces and gestures over at Tim and Jim. Thanks for being here in studio.
Thank you.
And another thing I want to do is I want to apologize to everybody. We've had a lot of listeners jump in and say hi on our live and on our feeds, asking some questions. There's some great questions out there. I am technically a little bit challenged when it comes down to the social media thing. Plus, the truth is, if I do Edgar's job too well, we're really not going to need him. So I need to leave something out for him to feel comfortable about coming back to Texas for. So I want to apologize in advance about those of you. We see you. We see your comments. We see some of the great questions that you have here. And what we'll do is we'll take them and we'll reach out to you individually, or we'll answer them on our Instagram lives. But
Is this like one big giant over-encompassing shout out that you're doing right now?
Exactly.
Shout
right?
out.
Shout out to everybody. We love you all. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you for the kind words. And we have some really good questions here from a couple of our viewers here. But we will get to them and we'll get to you. But I just wanted to make sure to let you know that we do see you. We do thank you, and thank you for jumping on.
Appreciate y'all.
Before we went on break, we were talking a lot about ROI and the return that your client or your customer will be able to realize by installing one of these variable speed motors, and the savings are truly there, and how it pays for them to be able to put one in. But the other side of it as well is we need to talk about the service side and the professionals out there that are putting in these motors. One of the biggest struggles that we have, and especially in the past, and we've learned to combat these, and there's been some positive programs that have come out from various manufacturers to help combat these issues that we face on a everyday basis as service companies or builders or remodelers, is Amazon or online pricing, and being able to source these products from anywhere but distribution at a cost that sometimes is even cheaper than we're able to pick them up. And it's frustrating. So I know through our conversations, and again, this isn't nothing that's set in stone, but it's worthy talking about, that a company like US Motors and Nidec, who is, if you guys listen to our first podcast, and if you haven't, please go back and listen to it, you will see that they are not a small company. They're a massive organization that knows how to build some pumps or some motors, and they've been doing it for a very long time, and we've been using their products for our whole lives. That they're actively pursuing following a MAP policy. And for those of you that don't know what MAP is, that's the minimum advertised pricing, so that it creates a level playing field for everybody, so that you don't have one knucklehead out there who has one of these motors and wants to do a blowout sale on it and sell it at whatever it may be. They can't advertise it at that reduced price, and you go and quote a price to your client at one price, and then they go look online and they see that motor is being sold at X price, which just creates a lot of pain and unnecessary drama that we have to deal with as service individuals. So can you guys just touch a little bit on that and see how that was brought into effect, or how that conversation started and your reasoning behind it and where we are in it?
All right. Let's start at the beginning here and just kind of throw this fact out. You talked about how big Nidec Corporation is, Motor Corporation is. We are, the primary portion of our business is revolves around OEM business, and while we do have quite a bit of distribution business, but the primary portion is OEM. So I would call us an OEM centric company. Therefore, we really have never delved into the world of map pricing and map policy. It's a kind of a brand new concept to a lot of us. And so we introduced it because of the pool world. And, the majority of our business today, and that may change in the near future, but the majority of our business today has been the service professionals, the brick and mortar folks, the people out in the field. And it is our thought process that there should be a way to help protect them if we can. So to your point, we have begun our research on it. We've had several meetings over the past 6 months with our vice presidents, and we need to develop a map policy. We need to develop a map strategy. Need to develop some map pricing, which I think that's the easiest part. And then of course the toughest part is the enforcement angle that goes along with it. So are we there today? No. I'm hoping. My hope is someday we will be, but for now we're deep into the pursuit of it. That's for sure.
Awesome.
I love it. And a lot of people don't understand what an undertaking that is and how big of a deal it is. So that's really cool. I think a lot of people just think, oh, it's easy, just do it. And it's like, no, there's a lot more that goes into this than what I think people understand.
Yeah, it's not like just a switch you can just turn on and say, oh, we got map pricing now, and that's what it is. And if, Jim, you talked about it, the enforcing part of it, you have to literally create a team of people, or checks and balances, which cost time, money, effort, right? And if you implement something and it doesn't have any teeth, or there is no enforcement on it, then nobody is going to adhere to it. So we just want to say, I think it's personally, I think it's neat that that a company like Nidec and U.S. Motors is listening, right? And though especially being in the OEM type business, you don't have to deal with this type of stuff, right? You're just straight to the manufacturers of whatever item they're building or creating or making that uses your motors. Where now it's just a whole new realm, and to be open to it, I just think kudos to you guys and thank you for doing it. It goes a long way, especially with the pool pros, knowing that you have their back and that you're looking at ways to be able to make their jobs a little bit easier and at the same time secure their profitability as well. Next, I want to talk about kind of some real world scenarios. Let's walk through a few real world cases where what happens when you have let's say you're a tech and now you're looking to put one of these variable speed motors in, and you have a customer with an older time clock system. How does someone go about making it work with that, and how does a new regulation affect that setup, and how does a Neptune work in that environment?
The new law will affect it because you will eventually need to put a variable speed motor onto that pump if you're upgrading the pump. And the time clocks, where most variable speed pumps can't mechanically integrate with time clocks, we can. When you go out to the job, you can pull a single speed off of a time clock. The time clock, 220 time clocks are wired line load, and a single speed's on the load side. The best practice for every variable speed motor manufacturer out there is to wire the variable speed motor to the line side. That's because of the computer that's on it. Computer, like your desktop at home, you don't want the computer turning on and off every night. That's just has a problem booting up the next morning. You might put it in a standby mode, but the computer stays alive and hot all night. And that's the same thing we're trying to achieve with the variable speed motor computer. So we're going to pull a single speed motor off the load side. We're going to wire the variable speed motor onto the line side. At that moment, your time clock is no longer a time clock. You've got a junction box out there. And that's okay if you want to do all of the programming, whether it be the DOE mode or the timer settings in a standalone, quote unquote, standalone application. However, if you just want to repurpose this motor as a single speed, you can add in a micro switch known as a fireman switch, intermatics, some of the more common yellow dialed motors that are timers that are out there. They made a micro switch that is commonly referred to as a fireman switch, and it can be added into a mechanical time clock, and it's a kit that can be purchased at your pool supply house. It has 2 leads on it. It has the holes already on the mechanism that you install it, and you are going to use our low voltage block, our dry contacts, to energize it and repurpose that existing time clock into a time clock again. What it does is we're going to take off of our low voltage block, we're going to take one of those leads, 12 volt power out to the fireman switch, and the other one we're going to bring back into one of our 4 predetermined inputs that are right next to the 12 volt on that low voltage block. The first input is about they all have preset RPMs. And the first input's about 1400 RPM. The second one, ballparking, about 1900 RPM. The third one, input number 3, is 2900 RPM. And the fourth one is 3450. So if I take low voltage wire, 18 gauge to 24 gauge, I kind of like the solid 18 gauge thermostat type of wire. If you take that 12 volt power to one of the fireman switch leads and the other lead back into one of those 4 inputs, whether it be the trippers on the time clock or a manual move of the toggle, it will send a low voltage signal to the motor and turn it on to that predetermined input speed that you had it on. And now you've repurposed that time clock into a time clock, whether it be with trippers or just the fact that when the customer comes home and he wants to use the pool and turn it on, he doesn't have to go over to the Neptune and start screwing with all the buttons. He can go hit the toggle and he can turn on the system. And when he's done, he turns it off.
And that could be as simple as, you have your programming set up and you maybe at one point in time of the day, or maybe you're seeing a lot of leaves or a lot of maybe discoloration or something. You just want to flip that switch on and let it run for a while. And then you can flip it back off again if you don't want to use the timer dogs.
Absolutely.
Or for jets, right? If you have a pool spa combo and you want to go into high speed, right? Flip your valves over and then flip the intermatic timer to high speed and do your thing.
Absolutely.
So we touched on time clocks. Let's dive into automation a little bit.
Can I go back to time clocks for
There's
a minute?
One more feature here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say there's 2 time clocks. Let's say there's a booster pump that's on there. That booster pump, that second time clock, used to sync with the first time clock on the load side. And that primary time clock used to stay in sync with the booster pump time clock. Well, now that you're on the line side on your primary pump, that booster pump is now reliant on staying, the mechanical booster pump timer is now reliant on staying in sync with the digital timer on the variable speed motor, on the Neptune motor. And I'll be honest, it's not a perfect world. No. Right? They can fall out of sync. The gears on the mechanical motor, they will, right?
Eventually.
Right? And if you simply add in that fireman switch into the booster pump mechanical time clock, you can bridge that gap and that possibility or eventuality of them coming out of sync. Whereas 12 volt power to the fireman switch, other one comes back into one of the preset inputs, and when energy is set, when that booster pump trippers come around, and it'll send a low voltage signal to the motor, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, the primary pump motor comes on and
works at designated speed.
It works in conjunction with the booster pump.
So they're linked, they're in sync at all times. It creates what is called a manual override, right? And then so the homeowner, if they see that happening, and they're like, "Oh my God, why is it running at that speed?" They can't even get out of it because they're locked out. It's in a manual override. There is a relay in the motor that you could wire into, But now it requires, the only way it gets power is if the motor is the Neptune motor itself is running at a certain RPM.
So what Jim's saying is you could wire the booster pump right into this relay,
Right.
but it requires the motor to be on and on at 2100 RPM in order for it to work. And if it's not, then it won't work. Where the fireman switch, it's going to work. It's going to send a low voltage signal.
And speaking on that relay, if it is at 2100, is it always turning the relay on? So if you're using the spa and you ramp it up, is that relay going to come on if you're using it?
It'll energize. It'll have the power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, let me take it one step further, and maybe not in Houston, all right, in South Houston, but freeze control. Somewhere from, I'd say the mid-Atlantic states, but it's really probably from, Fresno, Las Vegas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, across Charlotte, somewhere into the Carolinas. We've got a real issue. Unless you're on an automatic controller where you can override and set the freeze protection for the motor to come on at a certain RPM, those old time clock systems used to have a commonly a black dial thermostat, whether it comes in the dual time clock, in a single time clock, or whether it's a standalone by itself. It's a product that's also made by the same company that makes the timers. And you can repurpose that with 2 low voltage wires to make that thermostat work again. And here's the problem. Variable speed motors all have freeze protection in them, but in all honesty, it's kind of device protection. And I say that because the Department of Energy, while they tell us we can put a freeze control into it, they limit every motor manufacturer and how high that can come on because they're the Department of Energy. And so what they say is you can have a function in there, but it can only turn on the motor no more than 50% of the total RPM of the motor. So 3450 is the RPM of our motors. 1725 as a standalone is going to be the best that you're going to do. And when it gets cold in Houston, 1725 might be okay for you. But that single speed motor used to be connected to a freeze control, and it used to turn on at 3450. And when you are in Dallas or Las Vegas or Tulsa or Charlotte, you're going to see a lot of those dials out there. And the ability to just repurpose them with 2 low voltage wires and our low voltage block by running 12 volt power out to one of the spades on the back of the thermostat and the other one back into one of our inputs. Now when that thermostat comes on, it turns on our motor. And it's at whatever input you put it into. I'm going to recommend 3450, the number 4 input. And that inexpensive thermostat is now controlling the motor. And whether it be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks, if the thermostat says it's cold enough and it needs that motor to be on at 3450, it will be. And now you're not just saving the motor with device protection. You're saving the entire equipment. The second skimmer, the third skimmer, 50-foot run, 60-foot run, north side of the house in the shade, you're protected.
And those words, freeze protection, always lends itself to freeze guarantee to some people. They hear that and they think it's a guarantee of some sort. We actually in our menu refer to as a low temperature monitor. We don't even call it freeze protection. I think for that reason, and it always comes enabled, so it's always there. But you can change your temperature as to whatever you want it to be. So, but it's enabled until you disable it in our motor.
But if that thermostat's already sitting out there, make sure you repurpose it to turn on the motor. Take advantage of it. And it's just 2 low voltage wires. Pull the wires off of the back of it. You're going to have 2 spades, 12 volt into one of them, the other one back into the inputs. You're done. You've repurposed it, and now you've bridged that gap of the imperfect world with freeze protection and variable speed motors.
Yeah, even in Houston, we know we can get a good freeze down there now. So
appreciate that.
Okay, cool. So single speed, anything else or time clocks, anything else on time clock?
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Perfect. And so now I want to move into automation and kind of understand that. And I think that over the years, people have kind of gotten ingrained because of past. It's like, well, you can't use this with this product. It's got to be product specific, but I'm going to let you guys touch on this and how they can intertwine.
All right. Well, we always preface it by saying we're not automation experts, so we don't know all the ins and outs of how these systems work. But what we can tell you is that we can connect with most of the popular ones today. So that, without naming names, but you can imagine what the most popular systems are, and ours is very simple. It's like a 4 or 5 step approach to hooking up. Every system has an RS-45 terminal block. Our motor does too. Right next to that 6-pin low voltage block is our 4-pin RS-45 block. You'll make those connections first. On the other side of that low voltage board is a dip switch. All right. You'll obviously look in the manual and determine which system you have and set your dip switches. And they always come in the off position. Set them to the on position for whichever one needs to be on. All right. At that point, then you power your motor and your automation system up because the power is off to start with. All right. Power them up. And now you're going to go into the motor and put it into what is called remote mode.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that is under our second menu tree, I believe. It should come disabled, and then go and enable that. Once you're in remote mode on the motor, the next step is to go into the automation system and select the proper protocol or language, if you will, that the automation system and our motor require them to be in. All right. The last step after that, I think, is an important step, and that is we believe to power both systems down, and then bring power back on to both. In essence, syncing them together. And at that point, sometimes it might take another power off and on, but at that point it should be in sync and it should be working and operating. And the automation system will basically when you put it in remote mode, you're shutting the brain of the motor off. So now it becomes a slave to the automation system. That automation system thinks that's the motor it came with originally. You were going to say something, or is that what you were going to jump in with?
You're good.
No, and again, it goes back to the point that I was making earlier. It's no longer, this isn't the option of adding a Neptune motor or upgrading your customer's pad with or pump with this motor. There's no longer any sacrifices usually that would have to come into play. Like, we can go it this way. It's going to maybe be a little bit less money, but you're not going to be able to do this or do that or do this with it, right? And there's always a but or always a con to it, right? Where with this, literally, it is if it was that manufacturer's pump that was running on it, and or that motor that's running on it, and you're able to control it via the automation, and to be able to set different speeds and have it work the way you want it to work without sacrificing any features.
Now, bear in mind, there are some older automation systems out there before the variable speed pump was required. And so if that automatic controller has never talked to a variable speed motor, and now you're going to try to put our motor in its place, you probably will have a problem making it connect. There probably needs to be an upgrade to that board, but you'd have the same problem with anybody's variable speed.
That's what I was going to say. Like, look, if you have an old IntelliFlow, you put an old Easy Touch, it's not going to work, right? So there is no more, no less when it comes down to restrictions, and it would be by putting another pump in. So,
I got to jump in. Can't figure out the chat, but I've been kind of scouring individually, and Fernando says Tim and Jim, the two amigos, and the best replacement motor the pool industry that you'll never hear. So shout out Fernando.
Fernando, so happy to hear from you today. Thank you.
Yes, and then big shout out to Mrs. Everywhere is listening. So Jeanette.
Hi, Jeanette. How are you?
Wow, Zach, thank you.
Thank you.
You're so tech savvy.
All I got right there. So.
You did good. Now look, poor Edgar right now is like really, really worried now.
And I think my friend Andy Reynoso is probably listening in Los Angeles right now. So shout out to you, Mr. Reynoso.
Yes, Mr. Reynoso. Thank you for our apologies for not calling your name out, but again, I explained why. So I want to jump into educating our customers. So we touched a little bit on it, but our whole our goal here is to make sure that we make this as seamless as possible for the pool pros that are out there in the industry that are affected by this regulation, and them understanding and knowing all options that are available to them, so they can be informed. Because an educated service pro, is a good service pro, and in order to be a true professional, we need to be armed with this type of information and understanding so that we can provide the solutions to the people that hire us to take care of their pools. And on the flip side, it's our responsibility as well, once we become educated, to help educate our clients, so that they understand some of these regulations that are taking place and why they're taking place. And this, some of it might be a little repetitive to what we talked about before, but I think it's important that we talk about it a little bit more so people understand. But so, for instance, Jim, how can we look at pool pros? How can they educate their customers about this regulation without sounding like they're upselling?
And you're right. We have talked
Yes.
a little bit about, but I think it's worth going over again and talking about. This isn't an upsell anymore. It was at one point, but it's not anymore. You need to continue to discuss the fact that I'm even going to ignore the DOE rule at this point. This is about saving money, And I'm sure that if I was from the DOE, I'd talk about unloading the grid a little bit, and because I'm sure that California has been all about that for 25 years.
Oh yeah,
right? Unloading the grid, so fewer brownouts, blackouts, whatever that would be. But talk about the energy savings. That's where it all starts. I mean, there's the quiet operation. I think that's inherent in a variable speed. But I think that's where it all begins, unless I'm missing something. You guys have done are doing a marvelous job of educating. And in order to educate the pool guy, in order to educate the customer, you need to educate the pool service professional first. And it really begins with things like that you're doing, as you talked about Vegas at the beginning. Those boot camps and those classes were wonderful. They were marvelous. And the education that you get by going to those things, you really need to spend the time. And I don't mean you guys, obviously, but the folks that are listening, you need to spend the time and do these things and educate yourself on this. So it always reminds me of a Tom. We've all seen Tommy Boy, right?
Oh yeah.
When David Spade and Chris Farley go in and they start selling for the first time, and David Spade does all the talking because he knows all the specs, and the guys basically tells him, "Shut up, buddy," and I don't want to hear all the engineering talk, I guess I could sit here and do that, but that's not what they want. You got to talk. You got to learn how to sell this stuff, how to talk to people. It's sales 101.
If they had an old motor, it was probably screaming at them. And the first thing that they're going to appreciate at this point is the quietest motor they've ever had in their backyard.
Yeah.
Right. The energy savings, while it's tangible, there's not going to be a choice in the matter here shortly. And it's just going to be pointing out to them that you are at the same time giving them the quietest motor that they've ever had. They're going to see their energy consumption reduced because of this decision that they've made in this motor, variable speed motor that's on the job now.
It's inherent compliancy. You're going to comply because the next motor you're going to get undoubtedly is going to be a variable speed, whether it's a motor or a pump. It's going to be variable speed.
Yep.
And I want to, and I touched on this before, and I'm going to say it again, but emphasize it on it a little bit more in depth. But not only are they saving money, but they're also it leads to a cleaner, safer, happier pool, right? If you're able to circulate that water longer, like we talked about, you're able to filter the water better, because we all know jamming water through a cartridge filter at full speed, or 100 gallons per minute or 120 gallons per minute, isn't necessarily the best way to filter water. Low and slow is always the best. Plus, not only that, it preserves the integrity of the cartridges. If you want to even go even further down the rabbit hole, you can talk about, especially on older pools with copper plumbing and erosion, right? When you're jamming water through there, you're ripping through pipes, and you're causing cracks and leaks. And there's so many different things that you can account to improper hydraulics, because the original motor that was put in there was oversized for it, and it's not working correctly. to where now you're able to create an environment where, you can turn a problem pool. And I've had it before myself, especially when I first started, where, you have problem pools simply because they're just hydraulically not sound or not being run well. And we try to have most of our pools run at least a minimum of 18 hours a day, but we don't jam the water through at 3450, right? And clients are very happy with it. We're happy with it because we have much cleaner, safer water for our customers. So, Jim, what you're saying too, it's all about education. And this is here. The train is left the station, and you need to jump on the bandwagon here and make sure that we're set up for we put ourselves in a position to we're able to capitalize on this and give our clients the benefit of the doubt.
And I would add a word to the wise. If you are out on a job and you need to replace a motor and you are not the person that installed that motor or that pump, there's a possibility that somebody with the COVID shortages and everything put something onto that job, but not necessarily the correct thing onto that job. And you can always identify what should be the correct motor by the impeller and the impeller number. And yes, you're going to have to
do a little research.
Right? But you're going to have the whole thing apart. When you unthread that impeller into your hand to replace the pump seal, you're going to have that moment where you're going to be able to see the number on it. And there are probably every market has its popular pumps and its popular horsepower. So once you do this once or twice, you can identify that number with a certain horsepower. And then you can look at the motor that was there and figure out if it was properly sized to begin with. And if it hasn't been, it's that time that you can make the professional correction and put the right motor back on there for this longevity and success for the consumer in that motor.
And there are great cross references out there that you've developed, that can be shared as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started an impeller cross-reference years ago when there were up-rated and full-rated motors, and it was confusing as to which motor, but it all really went back to the impeller. And now that we've migrated away from up-rate and full-rate and started adopting that total horsepower rating. And now that we're into variable speed, I have the same impeller cross-reference that works its way across and shows you which the appropriate Neptune motor would be for that impeller.
I think a lot of the conversation that we've had today, and that when we're talking variable speed technology, has been kind of around like how to get the customer convinced that this is beneficial to them. But if I'm not mistaken, before too long, that's not even going to really be a conversation, because it's just this is the way that like we were talking about yesterday, compliance, right? This is the way it's going. There won't be the need to try to convince the customer that, well, we can run it longer and do this and that. It's like, here's your option for A or option for B. And I think it's going to be really important for the pool pros out there. Like, this is where we talk about education, right? This is where we talk about going to the class, learning like the different impellers. Is this pool sized properly? Learning the programs for the hydraulics and efficiency to maximize on the pool. Learning how to set it up so that the customer is reaping the most benefits out of it with their energy savings. So we're talking about these things and these like this upselling, but I don't think that we're going to have to be dealing with upselling very much longer.
Yeah,
look, the idea of
it's funny. We talk about how do we have these conversations with clients, over the variable speed pump, and Jim, you said it. In California here, we've been doing this has been it forever for us, right? This isn't news to us. But what is kind of new to us, and we're going through a different thing, and just like usually everything with California, I'm sure the rest of the country is going to go through it as well. But we stopped selling. We have to only put in LED lights, right? And when we go into a backyard now and we're replacing lights, or a customer says, "Yeah, my light bulb's out." That's great. Well, we don't replace light bulbs. We put a new light, and it's going to cost you $1,800 for a new light because you have to go LED. That's the kind of like, there's this huge shock with our customers and our clients, and you can tell them, yeah, you'll save a little bit of money because it's LED opposed to incandescent or halogen or whatever it may be, but the savings are nowhere near as drastic as you would with the variable speed pump. But I just giggle and I find it funny. When you know, the difference from California and kind of how things go and whether it's upselling. And when people tell me that, you know, this variable speed motor thing is bad for the industry. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? How is this possibly bad? And it's not really that. It's a cry for help. It's them really feeling that it's bad for them because it's just more work for them because they don't understand it or they just don't know, right? When in sales and back in my other world, when we would teach how to sell and you know your clients tell you no, it's not and it's they don't know, right? And it's our job to help them know and understand, and that's where we need to come into play so that we can better educate them. So let's talk about Jim. You said that Tim had some like schematics and he's written some stuff and he's done some things to help the pool pros. We've shot some videos which are pretty amazing. If you guys haven't looked and seen it, go on to the Poolman University app. We have them there. But if you can talk about some of the tools and resources that are available for pool pros to be able to get information they might need after if they're in the field and they have a question or they need to learn a little bit more about it and they need to go to your website or whatever, what resources are available for them to be able to learn more about this?
Well, there's obviously the website, and your website has a lot of all these videos as well, or Poolman University, but usmotors.com, and check out our pool section there as well. We have videos there. We've got manuals there. We've got literature there. Got plenty of things that you can find to reference. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of.
You have sales reps.
I'm just going to go there. Yeah, I was just looking at you right away. Yeah, we've got reps all across the country that are up on all this. Some of them are deeply into it, as you can tell from my friend Tim next door here. But yeah, find a Nidec or US Motor sales rep. They can certainly help you out and walk you through any questions you might have. But again, it goes back to making sure that they find ways to educate themselves as well. I think, when you have your boot camps that go on throughout the country, or anybody else has their classes that are going on. I mean, I don't ignore anybody else in the business, but these are things that people should be doing to get smarter and become better professionals.
Sure.
I'm speaking of tools and resources, and we've talked a lot about like the energy savings, like that's the primary, right? Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people that may be new to that, through the past, I've seen different calculators and ways to plug in and visualize this and kind of see it. I think it's a very helpful tool. Is there anything you recommend as far as maybe someone that doesn't fully understand that as a tool or a resource that they can use, or maybe it's just reaching out to a rep and kind of going through that process, but to help them kind of visualize, like, this is truly impactful. Here's what the energy savings would look like, because then they can learn that and convey that to their customer.
Well, we do have a calculator on our website that can be used, and I've talked to professionals over the years that have gone so far as to print out, take an average pool size or an average pool in their territory, and run a calculation, and print that out, and they put that in their mailers, or they'll hang it on a door, or they'll hand it off, if they drop their invoices off when they're there, however they do it. But just to educate them on, you could be saving, this much, and that's a great way to do it too.
I think so. I mean, nothing more powerful than like being able to visualize that and see it, because you could talk about it, but once they can see it and kind of put that connection together,
that's how I did it.
Makes selling a lot easier.
So, and the easy way of doing it is you just whoever provides your electricity, go find out what it is per kilowatt per hour, whether it's 40 cents, whether it's 18 cents, 19 cents, whatever it may be, and get your whatever pump is currently running and find out what the wattage is and divide it by 1,000, and there you go. And that's then times that by what it costs per kilowatt, and that is how much it costs per hour to run that pump at that speed or that wattage. And most pumps will give you a wattage, and if you don't know how to get wattage, right, you take volts times amps, and then you multiply it, and that'll give you your wattage on the single speed pump. So you'll be able to have that information, and you don't have to worry about necessarily getting a calculator. You can be right there on the field, and you can literally pull out your calculator on your iPhone
No, bro.
and just type in those information, and then boom, or do it in your head, and then you got it going.
Nerds like you will
Yeah.
do that. People
Right.
like me, I'm a calculator guy.
And then you do it, and then it makes it relevant, right? And people can actually see it, and it's easy. So let's do this. Let's take a final word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll get Zach's final thoughts, and maybe we'll get Tim or Jim's final thoughts.
Fantastic.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add reoccurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize Nidec, their exclusive industry-first technology. Nidec heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, Nidec creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/Nitec. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live in studio with Tim and Jim, and we are ready for final thoughts. So before I give it to Zach for his final thoughts, I just want to say thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
Really
thank you.
appreciate you coming down and doing this podcast again with us in such a short time. But we felt that it was important, right? That we talked a little bit more about this, especially now that the rules in effect, so that we can arm our pros so that they're educated and ready to take on this new DOE regulation. So thank you guys for taking the time to do that and doing an amazing job explaining some of the features that your motor has for everybody. Zach, final thoughts, my friend?
Oh, thank you, John. This is great stuff. I'm excited about it. I've always been one of these people that as like new technology starts to come into our industry, I get excited about it. And variable speed's not new, but like John was saying, there was kind of always a but or a sacrifice that went along with it because maybe like the integration wasn't quite there. It wasn't as seamless as it could be. But what's really exciting is that every day that we go on, things become more and more seamless. It becomes easier and easier to be able to utilize this technology. And then again, there's a little bit about like, we're not going to have a choice but to use this technology. So I think it's really important that all the pros out there are taking every opportunity you can to start learning how to utilize an energy savings calculator, how to understand how to program and maximize on putting these pumps in. But I'm pumped, no pun intended. I think this is great. And
Motor.
pump motored.
A motor.
Yeah, a motored.
Motored.
Yeah. And I think this is a great opportunity. These are money-making jobs for the people out there doing repair. These are great jobs. You can have a better pool if you're doing maintenance, like John was talking about, all the benefits of being able to run your longer run times and things like that. So other than that, thank you all for coming out. I had a blast hanging out with you guys yesterday and going to dinner, and I'm looking forward to what the future has to hold.
Mr. Tim, final thoughts?
It's been great being here again. I really appreciate your time and the platform to be a bartender and help people through the woes, through this transition, finding the pavement again after we hit the end of the road and hit the dirt and we get rolling on the pavement. I'll end this the way I ended it the last time, and I think it's important to say, whether it be a single-speed motor, a replacement motor, or a whole pump, before you leave the job, you electrically bond that motor for safety purposes. That's it. Thank you.
Jim?
Needless to say, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to speak for everybody at Nidec, but thank you. Just thank you all for everything you do. Thank you, Tim, for being here and helping out. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out to all of the Nidec reps that are across the country. In the Northeast, Atlantic Sales Connection. In the Southeast, BST Marketing or RWB Sales. Down in Florida, the Bird Morton crew. Thank you. Out west, Thornburg Enterprises. Thank you. Up in Canada, if you're listening in Canada, Mitchell Marketing. In the Midwest, I have Weber Sales up there, Weber Associates, and of course down here in Texas and most of the middle part of the country, I've got Neptune Sales with Tim Moore, and also Stellar Sales with Jamie Pittman and his crew, who obviously, as you've heard, is here today as well. So again, thank you so much, and the future is great. I'm ready to enter into this brave new world.
All right.
We're
Thanks,
there.
guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you. You guys did great. I mean,
John.
we knew this was going to go really, really